I only get to see you a couple times a
Um,
week right now because you're so busy. So what has been going
sucks.
on and what is top of mind for you? And like, what does Shauna's life look like right now?
Oh, well, let's see. I'll start with work. I'll give you the honest answer. It's been wild. We are in a moment in which we are about to pop out and really say hello to the market. We're a VC backed startup. So it's just an incredible amount of prep that goes into doing that and being ready to go out and like fundraise basically. And so a lot of my job right now is zooming out of the day to day and the operations and looking big picture. How close are we tracking to our North Star, our 5-year plan? What does that look like in terms of what essential jobs, new hires, new talent do we need to bring on the team in order to get there? It's kind of like being captain of the rocket ship and taking a look at all the maps and the satellites right now. And we're out there in the galaxy in the middle of stars, and we know we need to hit Mars, but you can't see Mars in the window. And so how much fuel do we have? Do we have enough of the right expertise on the rocket ship in order to get to the next refueling station to then make it for the next leg? That's a lot of the work that I'm doing. And I'm speaking in examples because a lot of the real stuff is super boring. It's like our financial model and our deck. And ultimately, all of these things are really just plans to get to that distant future. So I'm spending a ton of my time in the like sort of captain's room with these charts, with these tools, making sure that we are ready so that as we shoot through this next zone, we bring on more capital. We immediately go into hire mode, growth mode. We're in a really good place for it. So it's a very energy intensive set of exercises to do. And it's also hard for me because I love building and working with the team so much. So kind of being pulled out of that for a little while is not my preference. So that's always just hard. If I had my preference, I'd just be in there with like elbows, like, rolled up to the sleeves, getting into the nitty gritty of every single feature and all of the data. So I'm excited for us to get back to that. But that's really what I'm spending a lot of my time on at work right now, is on that and making sure we nail it and do it right. And then at home, man, I am so overwhelmed right now at home. This is like truth. In the last the last couple of months, I have really layered on my caregiving responsibilities in new ways. I am now really taking care of both parents. It's not just one. And I'm also now on, the side of mothering a 4.5-year-old who's getting smarter and more active every day. And also a 9-month-old that's starting to like crawl and be mobile, which is wild because now I've got two going in two different directions. So I've really layered on the care, and I'm still finding my balance in that. This requires a lot of new attention shifts on my part. And how do I split what is a finite amount of energy across what is essentially like a doubled audience of now people who really need my time and my attention? So it almost feels like the chessboard is like moved and turned into like more of a Rubik's cube around me on the home front. So I'm trying to do my best to figure out like what's the new normal, what's the new balance through this, how temporary is this, how permanent do I need to relax into some of this? I've been taking care of my mom in a pretty urgent way since December now. We're now into the end of March. So that's like a 4-month stretch. And I don't think this is going to stop. I think this is now the new zone that I'm in. So that's kind of what's going on for me. It's like a lot of highs, a lot of like low grade lows where I'm like, oh shoot, this part's actually really hard. This part's hard. I got to figure out, when you have to like dig deep, where you're like, okay, I got to dig deep to get through this part. This is a tough climb, or this is a tough hill. That's kind of the zone I'm in now, which is like super focused. It's kind of like mile 23 of the marathon, where like someone's like, hey, how you doing? And you're like, don't talk to me. Like, I'm in it. I'm still running. That's the part that matters. But like, I got no time for chit chat.
you're getting pulled in so many different directions with the company, with what's going on at home, and being a remote caregiver. Like, how do you stay optimistic throughout all of it?
I mean, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes it sucks. Like there's things that just suck. I think that's part of this gig where you're like, wow, really wish this wasn't on my plate today. You know, that would be great. So there's those parts too. But then I think it's being mindful of just how extraordinary it really is to even be in a position to care for people and to be alive and to love people. Like, I don't know if this is just my operating place that I come from, but if you really look around and you pay attention, it's net all positive, right? You've got sunrises every day. You've got sunsets every day. These are totally free. You can, like, anybody can enjoy these. You've got, at least in the East Coast, you got spring coming through and all the flowers coming in. And that's just magic. So I think it's also just making space for that and seeing that and always leaving room to be present for that, while also digging in hard into some of the things that are just difficult and sometimes painful, you know, or just not what I wish they could be. If I had the ability to wave a magic wand and make my whole family healthy, that'd be amazing. You know, I was doing my nightly I love you call to my dad last night, and Nemi was there. I was about to put her to bed, my 4.5-year-old. And I kind of broke through the fourth wall with him. Like I say, I love you all the time. And it's like, I love you. I love you. Nemi, say, I love you to Grandpa Mike. But this time it was a real conversation. Like I looked at him on FaceTime and I spoke to him like he's my dad, not like he's someone who's sick. And I was just like, I just love you so much, Dad. And I just want you to know, I know you're in there and I know how hard this is for you. And I know the battle you're fighting right now. And I just want you to know, you being here makes my life so much better. Like it just really makes my life better. I'm getting emotional even just talking about it, but like talking to him, like an adult to an adult, you know, not like this sort of parent-child relationship. And he immediately came to life in that and started talking to me, like really talking. Like he's not always verbal, but like really talking to me, so much so that Nemi was like, whoa, did Grandpa get his voice back? Like, where did Grandpa come from? Like, did he find his voice again? You know, because he's 4. And I was like, yeah, he did. And we love him so much. And she was like, oh, Mom, you're crying happy tears. And she knows the difference between sad tears and happy tears. And I share this with you because when you have these profound moments like that on a Monday, you know, it's like a Monday night, that's beautiful. Like that's part of the thing that makes all of this worth it. So I don't know if that's optimistic or it's just recognizing the beauty and the pain in balance with one another and being as open as I possibly can to both at any given moment and really trying to practice that and practice leaving room for more of each as you open up your aperture for experiencing life and your family and all of what it means to be here and to be moving through this world as an adult, as someone who is in a position to really do something about what you're seeing and what you're feeling.
I think your awareness is your gift. I don't know if you're aware of that, but I see a lot of similarities between the both of us. I find in the little moments that happen throughout my day, in a moment that would have happened like that for me, I would have taken that and that would have been my fuel for the next 5 days, 6 days. I think about when I was taking care of my grandmother, just like a small sliver of who my grandma used to be would shine through in our conversation. And I would then take that and use that as my fuel for, oh, this is why I spend so much time and this is why I spend so much effort caring for my grandmother, because I know that she's still in there somewhere and that she appreciates all of this. Even if she can't say that, even if she can't say, Chris, I appreciate all that you do for me. Like she'll just say a couple words that remind me of who she used to be. And that'll be my fuel. And I think our awareness is our gift. And I see that with you so much with how you treat caregiving or with how you treat the team. Like it is a true gift, and I think it should be recognized.
Wow, that's so kind. Because I think of you as so aware, and so deeply feeling and looking at the world through this pursuit of the truth with this big-hearted approach. And so that means a lot that you say that. I try. I'm doing my best. You know, we've got these tiny little brains. We're these tiny little specks trying to make sense of it all, right? And it's like we're never going to. We're never going to, really, but we can try, you know, and do the best we can and then help each other. That's also the coolest part, is like surrounding yourself with people who you know you can learn from. And I know, like, I can learn so much from you. There's so much left that I can learn, and there's so many gifts there, and, you know, becoming together. Like, I think that's part of this. We all kind of know when you're on this growth trajectory, you're becoming, and you're always in this state of becoming. And so you can feel it when you're becoming something better by those who you're around. So I appreciate that. And my awareness and my noticing hopefully also rubs off on you too.
I was thinking about, because you reference parenthood a lot, and as I've gotten to spend more time with you and the family, I've seen how you operate as a mother. Obviously, it's not a full 24 sometimes, but I've just seen how much you enjoy being a mother, and I was curious how much of a superpower you see that in the work that you do outside of being a parent. Like, how much do you draw from that when you were like for the work that you do at tendercare?
I mean, I wonder if it's mother or it's teacher. Like, I see myself as teacher, and maybe that's also a form of motherhood, is teaching. And I see myself at tendercare as a teacher too, which is, first, we're all learning from each other. So there's that. But also, how do you take that role of facilitator and creating that classroom environment to learn and to grow? And I think about that in whatever space I'm walking into. Like, someone's got to step up and like set the agenda for the class plan, right? Like, somebody's got to like keep everybody on time for recess and pick up, and, you know, it's time to put away your stuff, and it's also time to have fun. Like, that's really, you're laughing. Like, that's totally my role. So I think there's a lot of that comes through, both in the way I think of myself as a mom and in the way that I think of building technology, which is probably a little bit of a different persona than other founders out there who haven't come from a teaching background. I think some of this is just by nature of the luck of the fact that my first job was as a teacher. So it kind of cast a blueprint on me for every other space that I fill.
Can you talk a little bit about your background in teaching for those who might not have heard this yet?
So back when I was graduating from undergrad, I just love learning, and I was not done learning. And I thought that was like the craziest thing that our society tells us. All we're working towards is trying to get into the best college ever for some reason. Apparently, it's supposed to make you get a good job, right? Or at least it was at one point. And so everybody's working so hard and just grinding to get into some like name brand college. And then you go through that for 4 years, in which like the focus really isn't around the learning at all, right? And then you're supposed to now just be a contributor, like as if learning stops. And now you're just an expert in something, and you're just going to go be that expert now forever. And there's no room for learning. So I thought that was like the biggest crime. I was like, this is not right that we do this. And how do I game this? I'm going to go to grad school. Like, I'm going to keep learning, because maybe it'll buy me a few more years to keep learning before I'm expected to grow up. So I, at the time, was really interested in the power of storytelling, especially how stories could make us feel and care about people that we had never met before. So I was like really interested in what was happening in Burma, the Thai-Burma border. And there's just tons of refugees out there. And it's like a really tough situation for a lot of these young people who had been imprisoned and then had kind of been ejected into this border. So I was like, I really want to like tell stories about these people. More people deserve to know what's going on for them. So I enrolled in grad school, and just thinking I'm going to be a student. Great. I graduate from undergrad. And then about a month later, the grad school that I had been accepted into, it was the University of Southern California. They reach out. I was on a camping trip. They call me, their undergraduate department, and ask if I want to be a professor there. And they say, hey, we've got all these like students coming in. would you be willing to be a professor? If you teach here and you teach like 2 or 3 classes, we will give you the tuition free for your grad studies. And I was on the hook for that. I was paying for this myself. And I was like, no brainer. That sounds like a great deal. Like I've never had a real job before, but I think I could probably do it. Like, why not? I could be a professor, right? So they stick me in critical thinking and rhetoric, and I'm teaching undergrad students like 2 months after I was an undergrad myself, which was pretty funny. And so I remember going to Target and being like, what does an adult wear? Like, I think I need to go buy some sweaters and maybe some clogs. Like, what does a teacher look like that someone's going to listen to? So I must have looked completely ridiculous. Like, I don't know. I was like aping being a grown up. So I show up and they taught me so much. I think that was the coolest part. I actually learned the subject material, how to think critically, how to put together an argument, how to think about someone who disagrees with you better because I had to teach it than me just sort of going through a class. So it ended up being a huge gift. I ended up staying on, like 4 or 5 years as a professor there. So it was my first real adult job. And so all of your experiences change you. That one was pretty formative for me.
Coming into the classroom for that first class, did you feel like, because you said you were only 2 months out of like graduating yourself? Yeah. Like, was there a ton of what do they call it? When you don't feel equipped, like you feel like you're in the wrong room.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah. Was there a ton of that coming in?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for sure. Like, what was I doing there? I was literally 22. I was like, what on earth am I doing trying to pretend I'm a professor? I had some people in there that were like 37, 38 as my students. I was like, this is hilarious, But I just half the battle is just showing up. And so I knew even if I wasn't going to be like the most amazing professor to start, like half of this is just being ready for it, showing up and learning and getting better over time. And, I think imposter syndrome is something that we all feel, especially if we're challenging ourselves. That's just going to be a part of the game. But I find a lot of comfort. There's something that my dad used to say that just made me so brave. He would say, there's always room for one more. Like there's always room for one more. And that was such a cool way of thinking about the world and imagining the possibility of yourself being whatever the thing you're feeling like an imposter around. And so I totally felt like an imposter, always. And it wasn't like a linear thing where like sometimes it's like, oh, I learned and then I just became amazing. It was like, oh, I'd have like a couple of good days and then I'd like totally tank on some really crappy lesson. And then I'd have to start all over again. But you kind of you work that discomfort and you get comfortable with it and you just keep going. Like, you've talked about this, right? You've pushed yourself to do so many new things. How do you get around it?
I think just embracing that you're going to feel like an imposter and then just doing it anyways. I think about myself in college when I became an ASL tutor after my first, I took sign language 1 and then they asked me to be a tutor after the class. And I was like, what? I just finished this first class. Like, how am I supposed to teach these people? But through the process and trying to become the tutor that these people needed, I learned so much about ASL. I learned so much about the students and I accelerated my learning because I was like, I need to become the tutor that these people need. So it sounds very similar to how you grew into being a teacher, whereas you didn't feel equipped, but because you had these 37-year-olds in front of you, you're like, I gotta lock in and get better.
You gotta show up. Yeah. Go get some more sweaters from Target. Yeah, exactly. And hopefully we always are hitting that line. I think there is a season for everything. And while you're still in growth mode, I hope everyone gets the opportunity to feel like an imposter. You're doing something right if you're feeling like you're stepping into shoes that are too big for you. Otherwise, you're playing it super, super safe and you're probably capable of much more. So get out there and do it. And the best part is, even when you feel like an imposter, everybody's so worried about themselves. Everybody's so focused on do I look okay? Do I have something in my teeth? Oh man, I wish I was 5 pounds lighter, or I'm super stressed. Why didn't I get this done? Most of everybody we're surrounded with feels that way. And so I always take comfort in knowing like nobody's even thinking about me anyways. So even if I fall flat on my face, like I'll probably be the only one who notices.
For sure. Everybody is, I think about this with the gym all the time. Like people who are new to the gym are always afraid of like, everyone's looking at me, when really everybody is just worried about how they're coming across and nobody's thinking about you.
Exactly. Nobody. And then it feels like the stakes are so much lower, right? Then you're like, oh, okay, cool. It was a battle with myself the whole time.
Speaking of imposter syndrome, when I first joined the team, I remember so vividly feeling so confident stepping into this role because it's like I've built so much evidence for myself. I built up a huge following. And I remember in the first couple months, I can't remember exactly what scenarios humbled me, but I was humbled because I was like, I've never led a team, or like I've never been a part of a team like this and had to fill in a role. And I really had to take a step back and say, I have never had to do this for another team. I've only had to do this for myself. So I've really only relied on myself. And two, there is so much to learn here. There is so much that I don't know. And it wasn't until like I was able, like until I took a step back and was like, I actually don't know everything. I'm not as good as I thought I was. But there's beauty in that. Like there's so much learning that's going to happen. And I feel like I've evolved, like I've developed into such a different person from who I was when I first joined this team.
Oh my God. I mean, I'm seeing the growth in you all the time. There is a different level of self-reflection. There's more patience with other people because I think you've had to develop that muscle of like, oh man, I'm so used to going this speed and you don't go that speed, but now you're forcing me to go slower. Like what? Okay. Now I'm stopping to look at the scenery. What does that mean? I see so much in you. And I also love and honor the confidence you had that you were like, I'm pushing up against the limits here. I need to learn more. Let me take on something harder, which is so much harder. Let's just give you, like, let's acknowledge this. To be able to find a way to lock in and tell the story that's not 100% accessible to you. Like you don't have the 100% access to the interior world and the exterior world and everything that comes between. So you have to find a way to use new tools to get there. And to do this for a whole group of people you're still getting to know, but then also this whole brand and technology that's just emerging. Like literally we're living through the moment in which this is all what will become commonplace for everyone, brand new for all of us right now. That's a big order. So, kudos to you for being here for that. And I also know like we're just getting started. Like I already knew this. I could see this in you from the very beginning. Your capacity to master is so immense. Like we're just scratching the surface of what you will become a master of within, like, luckily, as much time as I have of getting a front row seat to you doing this. Like you have so much in store for you from like real craftsmanship and like getting to the bottom of things and understanding how they work. It's super fun to watch you learn and grow.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work for sure. And this was not bait for me to receive a compliment. The lesson that I was trying to give across was that as much as I thought I was humble in the world and as much as I knew that I don't know anything, therefore there is so much more to learn. There was even much more to learn coming into this team thinking that I knew it all when really like there is so much that I don't know.
It's wild.
It is wild.
It is wild, the body of knowledge we all absorb. And I think about that. I'm like, oh, we're in these spaces and they're hard. Sometimes they're really hard. But I'm like, the degree to which we are operating, this is pretty rarefied air. Like, without giving away our trade secrets, like I was constantly, I'm always back and forth with Santi, our head of engineering, and we're taking a look at how we are operating and maneuvering compared to others in the healthcare industry. And like pretty definitively, we are so far out ahead of the pack as early adopters and in moving through spaces that like, there's just no one else. Like there's just no one else there. And you know what? That's not always going to be the case, but I'm so proud of us for being out there on the frontier of this like deep space exploration, to carry the metaphor forward. And what we are learning, and why I say this is so cool, is like, we're not just learning a bunch of things that other people know, right? Like, it's like where it's just a matter of like, oh, young Padawan, get to your time and you'll learn the secrets of the universe. Like, we're actively learning things that no humans before us have learned. So we are out in the front on some things and unlocking the capacity and capability for what these things can do and we're specifically focused on caring for one another, like creating more infrastructure around our aging, our infirm. And that's such a beautiful thing, to be powerful while serving the vulnerable. I love that. Like, that's maybe one of my favorite parts of what we're doing, because we could have been doing this for almost anything, right? And the learning would have been there, but learning towards what end? Learning towards an end that I believe so firmly is what makes us beautiful as humans, that we have capacity to take care of one another when we need each other. That is what makes us extraordinary and startling and surprising compared to so many other animals. It's one of our defining traits, and we're doing it in such a focused way. I've never felt more powerful, and I've also never felt like there's more work to be done in order to actually deliver on the promise of what I know we can do. And that's why I love being surrounded by other powerful people like you. It's really fun, because we've talked about this, like, one-on-one doesn't make two, it makes five.
To the family who is stumbling upon tender care for the first time ever, maybe they're a new caregiver or maybe they've been a caregiver, when they hear you say that we're building infrastructure or that we're improving the system, what does that actually mean to them?
Oh man, it means I want us to be building for those moments of heartache and free fall, when they're looking around in a room for help and there's no one there, when they're told it's time to leave the doctor's office and they have no roadmap and no plan and no sense of how they're possibly going to make this work. What does this even mean, this new diagnosis? What does this mean for my family? What can we even afford? I want tender care to be there. I want infrastructure. I want to catch them and hold them in that moment with our tools. There is a way to find a plan. You do have options. You can afford some of these things. You can make decisions that you feel like you're in charge of, rather than being on the receiving end of some sort of anonymous system, that you don't understand how to participate in. That's where I feel like we have the most work to be done. And that's where things are the most ignored or broken right now. It's on the other side of a diagnosis. It's on the other side of an ER visit or a hospital discharge, when it gets quiet, right? There's nobody there anymore. There's not the beeping of the hospital floor. There's nobody checking in. It's like, well, what do we do now? And that's where I feel like we have a real opportunity to make sure we are protecting families from bad actors, right? Like, you're vulnerable in this moment. So how do you make sure that you have some protection, to move through the world and feel like you're amongst people who truly mean you well? And also, like, what are the options that are actually on the table for you? Like, what questions should you be asking? Or what services could you be taking advantage of that you just might not know about? They're right there for you. That could be a game changer for your ability to go back to work. Make sure that, your grandma or your husband is safe, that he's, well taken care of. These things exist. It's just that they're floating right now. They don't have the infrastructure. There's not like one single place you can go to go find help.
To the families who thankfully haven't gone through a diagnosis, who don't know what that's like, who don't know what an ER visit is like, and they're listening to the pod right now, and they're skeptics, and they're saying, well, isn't this something that a doctor would handle after, like, when they are going to hand you off, when it's time to leave the hospital? Isn't this something that a doctor would handle?
I thought so too. My dad and I was like, okay, cool. Where's my plan? There is no plan. There's no plan. That's not their job. And they're so busy, and they're fighting their own fires. There is no formal discharge. You're lucky if you get a printout with a couple of services from like the 90s on it that you can maybe call, and everybody who used to be there that was why they ended up on this list is long gone. That's it, man. That's it. No help is coming. I think that's the craziest realization, that I was like shocked. I was like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Like, I got a job. I can pay. Like, where's the help? And there's literally, it was always like, not my job, not my job. And I felt like, the duckling in that child story that goes around, like, are you my mom? I literally went from social worker to doctor to nonprofit being like, who's going to help us? And it's nobody's job. And that's when I realized, holy shit, this is just like a cliff that we all inevitably just fall off of. And every time it happens, it's like it's happening brand new all over again because nobody warned the family it was about to happen. And so everybody's just like, nobody's like looking to the back saying, hey, there's a cliff up here, slow down. It's like everybody's just like, do. And then, eventually we can't slow down time. You hit the cliff. And then now we're building a net. Like, I want to catch everybody and give them a fairer shot at this experience. And so, yeah, you can be a naysayer for sure. There's going to be people who are like, I don't need to do this, or I'm never going to get old, or like nobody in my family will ever get sick. And death's not a thing. Like, sure, go for it. We will still be there for you. Even when, you can not believe in us for as long as you need to. When you need help, and you eventually will, or someone in your family will, we will be there to catch you. That's what we're building here. And it's such important work. It's really fundamentally important. And that's also gives me strength to get through the nitty gritty parts. Cause there's so much about this that's nitty gritty. This is not like some glamorous, sexy, I get to walk into any room and feel super cool kind of work. This is like deep, focused infrastructure work for helping take care of all of us. Not just some of us, but all of us.
It's a big responsibility, but I think knowing what you and your dad have gone through and the millions of other Americans who have gone through the cliff moment, I'm sure it's a scary feeling to experience, but to also experience that and then come out on the other side saying, I don't want another family member to go through that. I think it's brave.
Oh, thank you. I don't see it as brave. I see it as my salvation because I am still in it, right? My dad and I are locked in this crazy decades long dance of me slowly losing him and him holding on. Like, this is intense stuff. And so I also think for me, it's what keeps me sane through that. If I'm just speaking totally honestly, like, it's enough to make anybody go crazy, So to be able to say, hey, there's a purpose for this, that this pain means that maybe it can be different for everybody else is so cool. And so it lightens the load.
If we had to, going back to the first conversation that we had, thinking about who you were when you first started raising for tendercare and to where you are now, much more dialed in with a process and with a stronger team. Like, what is the difference between Shauna back then and Shauna now? Not with just in raising, but just in operating in general.
I think, well, first, like every different role, every different industry, it's a specialty as a certain type of person who occupies that specialty. And there's a different psychology for it. I hadn't spent a lot of time, one, building product, and two, with the venture community. Like, these are two things that were relatively new to me at that point. Not through any fault of my own. It just like wasn't where I had banked most of my hours. So it's kind of like going into, a cage with lemurs or something and knowing nothing about what they eat or their sleep habits and being like, hey, I'm here. Like, what are we doing? And the lemurs being like, what are you doing? And that's kind of how I sum up my, some of my earliest fundraising, which is I was like, well, I'm here. And I really hadn't built up my body of knowledge of what are the common expectations and the dance of what lemurs do, when they're all hanging out together. And so I feel like coming into now, I've gone through now 2 rounds, some mini rounds in between. Like I've got some time under my belt. I think it's more like, oh yeah, lemurs love bananas. And you know what? They're nocturnal. And so the best time for me to catch them is going to be at this period of time. And I'm just totally showing that I'm ignorant on lemurs because I'm like, I have no other data to be able to share. But I do feel like, okay, I'm going in with expectation set, and it's probably a better experience for them too, because I'm coming in and I already recognize them, and I've done my homework on what they need in order to be happy lemurs. So that's kind of, I think, the big transition for me. I don't think it ever gets easier from almost just like a core responsibility place. Like my number one job for this business, outside of setting the vision and the mission, is to keep the lights on. That's really essential for our ability to complete what is a fundamentally important body of work. So I take that really seriously. And so I always want to do a good job, but I especially want to make sure I'm always delivering on that part of the job. So that piece is hard because it feels like responsibility, right? And so it's just sitting in your own mind, on your own shoulders, with getting comfortable with that responsibility. We've talked about this before. There's pieces of that feel really important that I don't mess up. So that's always kind of in balance. And I'm thinking about that while I'm also thinking about the lemurs.
Last thing, because as I go through your LinkedIn and I see all the people that interact with you, there's a lot of founders, first-time founders too, who follow you and are looking to you for wisdom. You've said a couple already. One, know what the lemurs want. Know that they're nocturnal. Again, we're not lemur experts, but just for the sake of the metaphor, they know what the lemurs want. And 2, you got to keep the lights on. That's very important. Is there anything else, if you were speaking directly to a first-time founder, that would save them 5 years of heartache that you might have experienced? I don't know how long it's been. I'm just guessing 5 years, but yeah.
Well, let's see. In the early days, I really wasn't sure whose wisdom or whose advice to trust. It was like, everybody's sort of got different ambitions, different expectations, and it felt really confusing. And I felt really sometimes uncertain, especially when it was conflicting advice or evidence. And so I kind of went in thinking, oh, if I just talk to people and they give me advice, that must be true. And then I can go and execute on that. And then it started to get super confusing when all the advice was literally pointing in opposite directions. And I was like, okay, if I do all of this, I will literally just be like splitting myself into a million directions and going nowhere, right? And so I think my advice would be, listen to the pull inside of you to make and to build. There's something really true about that. Surround yourself with the right type of people that you can just lean into and trust. Like really just know the difference between those things. And then what's amazing is you can now be a generalist that turns into an expert so quickly with some of these tools like Claude. Like lean on that. That will supercharge you. There was a lot of questions that I had back when I first started. There was no good place to find answers to these things. Maybe Reddit threads that you have to go sift through, but now, Google wasn't going to do it. So now you've got this access to the whole internet basically consumed into these LLMs. You can really ask a lot of questions and get to functionally like expert at so many different parts of what will be required to build a business. So lean into that. That's going to be a huge leverage point. And then don't scare yourself out of actually doing it. Like there's going to be a million reasons not to, always. And they're never going to leave. So you don't wait for, there's going to be some perfect right time. It's not going to happen. The only perfect right time is going to be when you finally can kind of like turn down the volume on all the reasons not to and really listen to that signal of why to go for it. And those who have a strong enough signal, they're going to do it anyways. You're eventually going to get there. This hopefully just helps you get there faster.
You're the best. Thanks, Shauna.
You're the best.